She pressed the remote, and the screen flickered to life. Their laughter filled the room, her husband and her mother, tangled in sheets, the dates and times blinking like accusations. Then came the recordings. His gambling secrets, her mother's plan to have her committed, his father's hands on her own body. Across the table, wine glasses stilled, jaws clenched, eyes widened. "You recorded us?" Eliza smiled. "I recorded everything." And just as Diane stood, trembling with fury, Eliza reached into the freezer and placed
The temperature of betrayal. Eliza traced the rim of her wine glass with a manicured finger, watching condensation gather like tears that refused to fall. Across the dining table, Matt laughed too loudly at something her mother said, his hand lingering on Diane's shoulder a beat too long. The chandelier light caught Diane's new necklace, emerald pendant, white gold chain, identical to the one Eliza had found in Matt's glove compartment last week. The receipt tucked beneath it dated their anniversary, the gift she never received. "Lovely necklace, Mother," Eliza said, her voice carrying the same cadence as ice cracking on a frozen lake. "New?" Diane's fingers flew to her throat, eyes darting to Matt before she smiled. "Richard gave it to me, didn't you, dear?" Richard, Matt's father, blinked in confusion before recovering with practiced corporate smoothness. "Of course. Suits you?" Eliza carved her steak with surgical precision. 3 months of discarded receipts, missing hours, phantom perfume on collars. The mathematics of betrayal had become her nightly ritual. "How's the Peterson account?" she asked Matt casually, knowing he'd lost it weeks ago. Matt choked slightly on his wine. "Fine, going fine." Her mother's eyes widened slightly, another silent transaction between them. Eliza saw everything now. How had she been blind before? How many dinner parties had they sat through playing these roles, while beneath the table, beneath her awareness, something else entirely transpired. The discovery came on a Tuesday afternoon when client meetings canceled and rain fell in sheets against the windows of their Brookline home. She'd returned early, heels silent on the marble foyer. The sounds drifted from the guest bedroom, her mother's breathless laughter, Matt's low voice. For a moment, Eliza stood absolutely still, her body understanding before her mind could process. The door was ajar, just enough. They didn't notice her at first. The tableau burned into her retinas. Diane's back arched, Matt's hands in her mother's hair. The silver blonde he'd once told Eliza was witch-like. Diane saw her first, eyes locking with her daughter's over Matt's shoulder. No screaming, no tears, just Matt turning, face flushed, mouth working soundlessly. "Eliza!" She closed the door softly and walked to their bedroom, packed a small bag, left. Eliza rented a downtown apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor. From that height, people looked like ants, precisely how she needed to see humanity now. She took leave from her position at the architectural firm and spent 3 weeks in calculated silence. She didn't block their calls. She answered pleasantly, listened to their stammered explanations. "It only happened a few times," Matt insisted. "We were both lonely," Diane pleaded. Eliza responded with understanding, forgiveness even. "I just need time," she told them both. Emily, Matt's younger sister, came to see her, perching awkwardly on Eliza's pristine white sofa. "You know, don't you?" Emily asked, fidgeting with her sleeve. "About Matt and your mother?" Eliza smiled, poured tea. "How long have you known?" "Christmas. I saw them in Dad's study." Emily's eyes welled. "I should have told you." Eliza reached for her hand. "You're telling me now. That's what matters." By the time Emily left, she'd confided everything. Richard's own affairs, Matt's gambling, how Diane had been the one to pursue Matt initially. information flowed like blood from a fresh wound. Richard cornered her at the charity gala. Eliza in black silk, hair swept up, neck long and vulnerable. His eyes were Matt's eyes. 20 years harder. "You're handling this with remarkable grace," he said, handing her champagne. "I've always admired your composure in crisis, Richard." She sipped, watching him over the rim. "The Westfield development nearly collapsed, yet you salvaged it. Masterful." Pride flickered across his face. "Business is about calculated risks." "And calculated losses," she added, letting her fingertips brush his wrist. "Sometimes we have to sacrifice what we thought was ours." His pupils dilated. She'd studied his type, men who built empires, who collected trophies, men who saw everything as conquest. By midnight, Richard had pressed his business card into her palm, personal number scrawled on the back. Matt begged her to come home. 3 months had passed. She agreed to dinner, just the two of them. "I miss you," he said, reaching for her hand across the table. "We can fix this." "Perhaps," she smiled, "but we'll need to be honest with each other, completely honest." Relief flooded his face. "Anything." "Your father called me," she said casually. "He's worried about the Jensen deal." Matt's expression shifted. "What did he say?" "That you've been distracted. Numbers don't add up." She tilted her head. "Is there something you're not telling me, Matt?" The color drained from his face. "It's nothing. Market fluctuations." "Of course." She took a bite of dessert. "I've been thinking about family lately, how complicated it all is." That night, she let him take her home, let him believe reconciliation was possible, let him sleep beside her while she stared at the ceiling, counting breaths. Eliza invited them all for their anniversary dinner. 5 years married. She had the dining room redecorated. White roses, crystal, candles. No red, nothing that suggested passion or blood. "A special announcement," she'd told them all. They arrived like players in a tragedy. Matt nervous, Diane overly affectionate, Richard distracted, Emily watchful. Eliza served each course with perfect timing, making small talk about neighbors, politics, the weather. With dessert, individual chocolate soufflés, Matt's favorite, she poured aged port. "To family," she toasted, her smile genuine for the first time in months. She pressed a small remote beneath the table. The wall-mounted television flickered to life. Security footage from the guest bedroom. Matt and Diane, dates and timestamps clear. Phone recordings of their conversations. Plans, alibis, laughter at her expense. Then newer footage, Richard in her apartment, his hands on her body. His confessions about embezzlement from company accounts to cover Matt's gambling debts. Silence fell like an axe. "You recorded us?" Richard finally sputtered. "Not just you," Eliza replied calmly. "I've recorded everything. The business fraud, the affair, Mother's plan to have me committed when I first suspected. That was particularly inspired." Diane stood trembling. "You manipulative little—" "Careful, Mother. I've sent copies to my lawyer." Eliza sipped her port. "Emily helped, actually. She has quite the technical mind." Matt stared at his sister in disbelief. Emily looked down at her plate. "Families should protect each other," Emily said quietly. "You taught me that, Mom." Richard threw his wine glass against the wall. "You've destroyed everything." "No," Eliza corrected, standing. "You did that yourselves. I merely documented it." She walked to the freezer, removed an ice tray, and set it before Matt. In one cubicle, her wedding ring was suspended in perfect clarity. "Don't play with fire if you don't like getting burned," she said softly. "Or frozen." 6 months later, Eliza sat in a recording studio, adjusting her headphones. Her podcast, The Temperature of Betrayal, had climbed to number 3 on the charts. Women called in with their stories of reclaimed power, of justice served cold. Matt had moved to Phoenix after the divorce and financial investigation. Richard faced charges. Diane had checked into rehab, claiming emotional breakdown. Emily occasionally joined as a guest host. They'd developed an unexpected friendship, built on the ruins of what both had lost. "We're live in 30 seconds," the producer said. Eliza closed her eyes briefly, remembering the girl who once believed in fairy tales, who thought love conquered all. That girl had melted away, leaving something crystalline and unbreakable in her place. "Welcome to the temperature of betrayal," she spoke into the microphone. "Today, we're discussing the fine art of patience. Remember, revenge isn't served cold because the heart has cooled. It's served cold because precision requires frost." The calls began coming in. Women's voices, strong, broken, rebuilding. Eliza listened to each one, recognizing herself in their stories, in their careful, deliberate refusal to shatter. Outside her studio window, snow began to fall on Boston, covering everything in pristine white that would inevitably melt away.
If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications.